What is the best long-term storage food that somebody can come up with? Like, what's the best thing that you can have stored at home, long-term, cheap, affordable, anybody can do it? It's flour. In most places in the world, if you're gonna buy 100 kilos of flour, and 100 kilos of flour is gonna last you, if on a family, easily a year to 2 or 3 years. And the shelf life of flour, now if you look online, it's always full of horseshit. You search Google shelf life of flour and it'll probably say like some corporate thing about, oh, you should really take it off the shelf after a year or 2. You don't want to get it sick now, do you? When it's probably like 5 or 6 or 7 years, because like legally in Finland, for example, with honey, you're not allowed to basically put more than 2 years, even though like the shelf life of good honey is like 2,000 years. So yeah, learn to make bread. That's gonna be your most valuable skill in terms of survival in pretty much humanity and history as a whole. If you look back throughout history, bread has basically been like the staple, and there's a good reason for that. And when you look at it from a modern perspective and you go into the store and you look, well, how much is a kilo of flour? How much is 2 kilos of flour, right? It's like 50 cents to €1.50 or $1.50, right? Well, how much is 2 kilos of flour in terms of bread? Well, it's roughly 50-50 water and water, flour, right, and bread. So if you have 100 kilos of flour, you're looking like 200 kilos of bread. And how much is a loaf of bread generally? About 300 grams to 400 grams. A family will probably go through 400 or 500 grams a day of bread. A single person will roughly go like 150, 300 grams a day. So if you do all the math, for 50 euros, $50 to $150, roughly in that ballpark, you can eat and get all the calories you need every day for 2 years. You don't have to go back shopping. You don't have to go back. You don't have to buy food for as long as that flour is in your storage, cold storage. So that's the HMK tip of the day for the future food shortages, if there are any. There probably will be. I wish I could really get into depth about these things, but everything nowadays is considered a conspiracy theory, so I can't open my mouth about anything anymore, even if it's about talking about oat milk and how, this mass-produced oat milk is actually like a sign of an early sign of food shortages, like a 10-year early. But that's just a speculation. It's all hypothetical. It's all speculative, and unfortunately, it just brings up way too much of this. Oh, that's conspiracy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there have been food shortages before. There have been massive famines before in human history. All you have to do is look back 100 years, and there's been like 30 fucking wars in Europe. Millions of people have died in Europe. Millions of people have been murdered in all continents, all over the world in just the last 100 years. Don't think that just because there's a European Union that you're gonna stay fed forever, okay? That's not the case. It's not the case. Reality is much more intense, much more fucked up, and more people, more of you have to learn this survival thing. You might feel like you don't need to be in survival, but the average temperature of the universe is minus 260 degrees Celsius or something. The universe doesn't really support life, and when it does, like on planet Earth, it is teeming with danger. There is danger everywhere. There's evil people, there's venomous snakes, there's all sorts of crazy things that we haven't discovered yet that are super dangerous. It's not safe, guys. You gotta learn to bake bread. Why? Because for $50, you can feed yourself every day for almost a year. For $100, you can feed a whole family for a year. Cold storage, you don't need a refrigerator for it. You just leave it in the cool, dark place. You don't need a refrigerator. You only pay $50. You got a shopping cart full of it, and that's enough flour to secure your life. Like, you go to the store right now, buy $100 of flour, and you know with 100% confidence that now you have enough food to stay alive for exactly 2 years, and that's just one goddamn ingredient. Now, okay, you need the yeast. There are other ways of making bread where you don't need to buy yeast, because that actually has a pretty shitty shelf life compared to the flour. But there's my tip of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful. The world ain't a safe place. The universe is a dangerous place. Just be prepared all the time. There's no reason why your house should not have food. We live in a society of plenty. You know? So, I'm not warning of anything that's to happen. It's just the way things are on Earth and have been for tens of thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands of years. Cow, sheep, chicken, hay. There are so many biological entities that are evolved for the purpose of agriculture. They only exist for the purpose of agriculture. Bread is as much an evolutionary part of our existence as, we are to wheat. Wheat and humans share a symbiotic relationship, and it's one of the most underappreciated relationships in the world.